funny. John was.
You'll tell them.
It still is.
Next item on the agenda is the Councilmanic District Map Software Presentation. Mr. Frank McKenzie, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Well, first, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to try this again. As you recall, a few weeks ago, we came in to try this, and we're having some internet issues. Came this morning, everything appears to be working properly. So I'll start off by saying that this was a project that was initiated initially with Laura Hurley contacted our office to say that the council was interested in making some information available to the public that would help them determine, which council district that they live in, and also who was their council representative. So essentially, this was a perfect opportunity to test out our new software we're working with, a product called GeoCortex. And in this case, it's a GIS map, essentially, where you can go to this, and the public will be able to just type in their address, and their address will pop up. I'll give them a series of options when you start typing your address, so we can't give a false address. And we'll just start with one right here. When you load it up, it'll see this web page.
Mark Kilmer has a huge district there.
Most of the swamp.
And you can see over
I
here,
won't make
there's
any
a-
comments about your district, Mr. Holloway. I'll refrain from making
Oh, it's
comments
okay.
about
The
your
swamp's
district.
on that side, yeah. Our swamps are better than this one.
Well, swamp is also waterfront, so.
Exactly. All the best people live on the west side.
I agree with that.
Frank, you trying to get some work done today?
Well, I'm paid by the hour, so here we go. You'll notice, the map is going to sit to the center of the screen. To the left, you'll see the legend. And over here, the council is served by 2 at-large members and 5 districts. So the first 2 will be the at-large members. We've got Mr. Cannon and Mr. Holloway. The Mr. Matt Holloway. And then you can go through each district. And you can see here, I've got, the name, if, in this case, President at Large, and phone numbers. Now, at one point, we had addresses on here. Thought it best to not put the addresses, on this site.
Yeah.
So they were removed. But there's also a link, you can email them right from here. So I wanted to keep it as simple as possible. People, they want to know who their council person is. This is going to be a pretty quick action.
So that if you punch on our website, comes right up at the top
Well,
of our website.
Yes. Now, we haven't put it on the website yet. I wanted you guys to sign off on it before we launch it.
Okay.
And then we'll put a link on the council website. We'll also, there's a map room within the planning office. It's got a whole series of different maps. Some of those are political. So we'll probably put a link in there as well. But you can see here, search by address, we can type in, you can start by just typing in the street name. And it starts giving you a list of possible options on Sunset Drive. So I can click on one and just click search. And it takes you and it tells you right there. It tells you what district you're in and who your representative is. So if we were to click on this, there's your picture of Rob from your website. Now, there's more information that we can get on here. So when I click on that, there's more information. It tells you, it's got his phone number here. This is a link to that picture in case somebody else, you want to get access to that picture. And then this is a link to a PDF of the district, of District 2. So this is a paper map that was developed that we've used over the years. And we have this same capability for each of the 5 districts. Now with this, let me close that out. As you zoom in, over here, you've got a list of layers that are available. And this is your home panel, start again. But as you zoom in to the properties, you'll start to see more information come up.
Are these layers, they're supplied out on that site through your browser?
Yes, these are, this is going to be an internet site that the data is stored on our server, within this building. So you can get this on your phone.
But the layering tools are included in the
Yes,
website?
within this product. As you zoom in, you can click on this layer theme. And right now, you can see these are listed the different layers here. I can turn on the error photography. And you can see through here. So you just want to make sure you've got the right house. You can see the photography here. You can also control the transparency of that. So, and let's say, okay, this is my district. I'd like to print that out. We've created a template for this. Now, we've got 8.5 by 11 on this one. So make a PDF, and we can do a high resolution if you want to do aerial photography on this. And you can type in whatever title you want for this. Map 1. And you print, and this will put a map in a template. And you can see here, you've got your council districts, your map 1. And you could then save this to your hard drive. If you don't save it, it just evaporates. So just turn that off there. There's also some other things that I don't know if, I might take them off here. It might be too complicated for this, but there's different linked maps that we can show. If you want to do street view. So it might be too much to have on this. I could have that elsewhere on other maps that is used by the county. But it's just, I wanted to show you some of the things that are capable within this.
How are you going to get this out to the public so they're aware that this even exists?
Well, we could, that's a good question.
Put a header at the top of the website, right?
You could do a news release.
We could do a press release, working, with the executive's office to say that, we've got this new mapping product. This is just one in a series of maps. One thing, I created a little GIS portal with other maps that has not been put out yet. But this has got a similar look as the county website, but here, there's a solid waste zoning map, a county zoning map, and a critical area map. So eventually, your map will be placed within here, and then the public can get to all these interactive maps. The other maps that we put out are static maps, basically for printing or viewing, but you don't have the capability of getting into the data that's behind all the information that's here. But I try to keep it simple. With this, they can type in their address as accurate as you want to, and you go right to your house. Now, there's a lot more tools here. There's a query tool that you can search any of the different databases that are in here. You could search, this is information out of the assessment office. So if I wanted to find out, how many houses were worth a certain value, I could search by that.
So on this site, can you also find out who lives at a certain address?
Yes.
Has this been launched, you said?
This has not been,
It has
this
not yet.
particular site has not been launched, no. Now,
So to tell you who lives at such and such an address.
well, when you go to your home page and you do your search,
Okay.
you type in your address, Okay, so I'm gonna search it. And you can see over here to the left, it
Okay.
found your name.
Okay,
So if I click on that,
okay,
this is pulling in data from the assessment office.
okay. All right, now does it have a picture of my property, like you were showing from the street level? Might just show my driveway, I don't know.
Well, before I go to that, I will show you this. This is a link, you know, properties do change. So this right here is a link to the assessment office to tell you as of, you know, the assessment information today, who owns the property.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so then if we wanted to zoom in, find a road here.
South. Roads to the south,
I'm heading that way.
and there you
Hidden
Is that your driveway?
go. Yeah, my driveway.
I'm trying to get out of there.
Now, where you live, you know, the first map I showed you was Google Street View. They do more urban areas,
So they-
and the rural areas, they may not have
Oh, okay.
your area. We'll take a look and see.
That would suit me.
Let's go back to tools. Let's see if, yeah, there's no street view data
Okay.
at this location. Now, there is another map here. Let's go to linked maps. See if I can get Bing to find it.
You like a submarine.
Yeah, so I can work with this so that you could do it, like Bing has a more advanced and a larger view of data throughout the county. But pretty much all, where Google has Street View for urban areas, this has entire county, but it's not as updated as often.
When are you get it up and running, Frank?
Well, if there's any other improvements the council is considering, I can take care of that. If not, then I can work with folks to release this, do a press release as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's a heck of a lot more than I expected. It's really incredible.
Are there any other enhancements you'd like to see?
For this, no. As a matter of fact, I may reduce some of the capabilities here just to keep it simpler. If they want to do some of the heavier duty GIS things that might be better served somewhere else on a different map.
I don't know that the street views is all that important to this, what we're doing
Yeah.
here, is it?
It's just a convenient link. It's just a link to Google, I'm assuming.
Like Google Map.
It'd be kind of neat to be able to layer also your state representatives, so you can tell those districts as well at some point. It's nothing we have to have, but if they could.
I do have that data. I have to see about, I don't want to hold this up, getting that
Right.
out. So that can be an
Right.
enhancement we come back later with
Sure.
and bring that in.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
All right. Any other questions?
Okay, well, any questions or?
Would that be linked under, when you go to the main page and it says county council, would it be under our link as well?
Well, I'll work with you folks, Laura and IT, to figure exactly where you want to put this link. And it could be in multiple places.
Right.
So basically, it's just a hyperlink that you underline the text and it takes you to the map. And we can put that anywhere you want.
Right. It'd be easier for people looking for their council member.
Well, there's, on the council webpage, it's got one that goes right to all the council members' information.
Right.
So it could be there.
That's what I'm talking about, putting it right there. Because that'd probably be the first place they went to look.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Just a couple questions, other things they might use for data. How about the zoning map? Could that, I didn't know if you mentioned it or not, but,
The map I was showing you earlier, this portal, Here is a county zoning map.
The one that at least is in the comp plan doesn't have much detailed information on it. You can't get down to individual streets.
Yeah, so this would have the same features as the council map. Here you can do the search by address. And this is county. What was that address again, Joe? I'll do Sunset. I gotta take a right first. Oop. Lost it. Sunset Drive. Okay, so here it's zoomed out. Now we can turn on the layers, and in here you can see, let me see here, overlay districts. So here's the zoning. So you can just click on this property. It tells you that this is it's in the critical area, the county zoning is village conservation, and this is the owner. So that's available, or will be available, when I can get the home page established.
Yeah.
Right.
That's coming.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
We got about 5 minutes.
So I understand lunch is near on the agenda.
Well, we got the Board of Education coming in.
Okay.
We don't want to be late. Yeah. Do you have anything back here, Frank? This plug? Is that yours?
No, actually, I wasn't here this time.
Okay. Looks good. A lot of work.
So we'll put together the press release, make sure
Okay.
everybody gets a copy.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, we have the rezoning request. Manico Group. Afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon. I will abide by the 5-minute warning, and that will be very simple because of all the work that the council and planning commission and the public has done leading up to this point. The announcement, or the setting of a date, I should say, for a public hearing for a petition zoning change, which is the topic, I guess, nominally of your discussion today, really leads to a broader question. And the broader question is the implementation of the county comprehensive plan. When you adopted the plan this past year, you know very well that it involves a lot more than just zoning. There are a lot of other implementation measures that we are proceeding with and will proceed with over 20 years. It's not something where you just flip that switch and the day you adopt a comprehensive plan, which is a guide to all that we do, obviously, but it doesn't have all those implementation measures come in right away. This happens to be the first one that's come before you that a private property owner has petitioned the county to enact a zoning change that is consistent and in fact directed by the comprehensive plan. So when you go to the public hearing on this, as all zoning hearings, we notify the public. You will have the opportunity the property will be posted in terms of the mapping change. This also involves a change to the text. The text change that's being petitioned is also directed by the comp plan. This is not a district that is too extensive in the county. The light business and residential does come up in a couple of places now, very limited areas. However, that would be expanded based on the comp plan, and the text change looks to implement that as well. So we can get into as much or as little detail as you like at this point, but when we do get to consider that specific question, staff would suggest that you think of it as the implementation of the comprehensive plan, and the idea that in part what we've done is we've looked to property owners who are interested in certain zoning, for example, want that zoning but don't quite want it today. There's a market factor involved there. And so, you know, we have collectively, and I'll say this with a question mark at the end, collectively led with the idea that we know where we're going, we know what the plan is, we know what the maps will be, what the text will be that goes with that. And at this point, short of us opening up a comprehensive, let's do it all right now this year, you will start to see these come in individually, and this happens to be the first one.
Questions from council? And I guess I'm assuming that it was decided that this wouldn't be too intrusive on the surrounding neighbors?
Correct. Compatibility is not an issue for this one. In addition, I'd like to add that it did go to the Planning Commission for public hearing, on December 21st, in which they made a favorable recommendation to forward it to council for review.
Was there any opposition?
No, there was one public comment, and I don't know if it was directly at the hearing or at public comments towards the end of the meeting with regard to traffic concerns along Nanticoke Road, but it was much broader in context than just this one property.
Discussion about references to the West Side Collector, things like that. So obviously, traffic is a concern on that end.
Where do we go from here?
Do we set a hearing date, Mr. Taylor?
We'll need a public hearing, and we'll need 2 readings, of course, on both of these.
Would it be to put on the agenda to introduce?
I would suggest that they do the public hearing on the rezoning at the first reading of the ordinance. I think that's pretty much the standard practice around the state. And then you have your second reading after you've had your public hearing and had a chance to reflect on what comes up at the public hearing.
Okay.
And probably the text change the same.
Well, the text change would have to be done by a legislative bill.
Yeah, they both do.
And normally we would introduce it first before we would have a public hearing.
Well, you could do it either way, but, I mean, I don't know why you can't do the public hearing right at the time you introduce it, too.
Public hearing and
It's up to
introduction at the same time.
you know.
You're saying introduce it with the anticipation of making amendments?
Right, I mean,
At the
that's
introduction?
pretty standard procedure with all of our legislative bills. We would introduce it first and then have a public hearing following.
And we're already anticipating an amendment to it?
Not that I'm aware of.
I
Yeah.
thought someone was saying there would be a text
There's two items.
Two separate.
Mr. President, there's a map change and a text change.
which we will be implementing when we introduce it. Is that correct, at the introduction?
They would go together? It's-
So we would be,
So it's 2 separate bills.
Correct.
Correct. 2 separate
Yes.
actions of council.
So where did you come up with the 10,000 square foot?
This is a petitioned item, and there's no secret out there. They would like to put a dollar store, and that's their number. And it seemed consistent with what we had talked about before. And that's a cap, that's by what is proposed is by special exception as well.
So I guess what I'm saying is, why not 12 or 15 or 8? I mean, is that just because of what they want?
We're advancing the petition as it did come through the department.
well, it is like you said, when it was all put together, we knew, and there are
Oh,
some
yeah,
people
it'll be
that don't want
10,000.
to go to that particular zoning for very specific reasons.
Sure.
Until it does best benefit them. Of course, that's what we want them to do, is get the best use out of their land.
It goes back with the harmony and theme of the plan of flexibility. We're not trying to do it all at once, as Jack said. This is a 20 to 25-year growth and development plan. Some of it will be incremented, it's already been incremented. Some of it is in the process of being implemented, and some will be implemented over the planning horizon.
I think as Ms. Hurley pointed out, the practice of the county has been to introduce, to set a public hearing date, and then that may or may not be at a separate session. For example, in the poultry discussion, you had a separate public hearing, told people, we're not going to vote tonight, there will be
Right.
follow-up.
Okay.
Most often, it's at the second.
Okay, let's, the introduction, I guess, will most likely be at the next meeting.
Okay.
I have a question, of course. We're looking at a text amendment on this. Once we open a door for a text amendment, it becomes policy. So anybody who wants to introduce something like this must be accepted because it's been approved as a text amendment?
The text amendment would open up, and this is not a large district, but it does show up in other places, so you will want to know where those areas are. It will allow folks in those areas to apply for a special exception and go before the Board of Appeals.
Not just that area, though, anywhere in the county.
It would be exclusive to the zoning district,
So it's
not just the
excluding to
prop,
the zoning district.
not just the,
Correct.
it's not
Light
property
business and
specific.
residential.
Okay.
Very good question.
Right. You good? Any questions? Thank you, John.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Hey, Clark, go out there this morning. I thought you said earlier somebody was going out there today,
You can't find it.
but they already went and posted it.
Oh, yeah, we're, they spoke with them and handed them a letter.
Oh, okay, all right, okay, so that's what I
Yeah,
figured out.
they've been served.
So that was 2 and 1.
Yes, it was.
2 and 1. All right,
Is it that time?
we'll take a recess until 1 o'clock, at which time we'll be meeting with the Board of Education for the quarterly work session.
So moved.
My computer won't download the current agenda.